Hi, I'm Dr. Francis, a world-renowned wildlife nutritionist. You may not have heard of me, but your white rhino sure has. So let's talk about the benefits of rotational feeding today. Sounds like a growl. I guess I can't really do it because it's a lot more guttural. Yeah. So what is rotational feeding? Well, rotational feeding is when you are switching and rotating between different brands, different types of food, and different proteins and ingredients throughout a short period of time. So most people who do this will have maybe 2 or 3 different proteins and will feed it over 1 or 2 weeks. Maybe it's the same brand, maybe it's not. As long as you're giving a variety of ingredients, a diversity of different types of foods over time, that is rotational feeding. Now, if you're giving a complete and balanced diet, whether that's canned food or kibble or a complete and balanced raw or gently cooked diet, then you really just want to cycle through their different proteins. You can go within the same or different brands, as long as the ingredients change over time. If you're giving a PMR raw diet, which is really focused on the different types of ingredients and animal body parts, then rotation is essential and part of the PMR feeding structure. If you don't do this rotation pretty much on a daily basis, you will get some nutritional deficiencies. And guess what? If you don't calculate the nutrients, you may get those deficiencies anyway with PMR feeding. That's just a side note. Calculate your nutrients if you're doing PMR. That's little disclaimer, but that's not the point of this video. So why would you even think about doing rotational feeding? Well, if you're feeding a complete and balanced diet, like I said, whether it's kibble, or commercial fresh diet, whatever, because it meets all the nutrient requirements according to AAFCO or FEDIAF, then you don't need to do rotation because your bases are covered, right? The basic nutrients are there, no matter what flavor. But different proteins, different plants, different ingredients, they all have slightly different amino acids and different fatty acids, and especially plants. They have huge diversity of plant secondary metabolites, little compounds that cannot be measured in terms of nutrition. But those are the compounds that help your dog or cat with their immune system, with their cognitive function, preventing diseases, keeping blood pressure nice, keeping organs nice and healthy, things like that. So when you're rotating through different proteins and different ingredients and different plants, then you're getting kind of more of these compounds to help and increase their health, maybe, or just give more diversity over all these different things that your dog and cat is ingesting. So overall, you're just giving them access to more and more health boosting compounds. So it's really important for you to stick with the same categories. So let's say your diet has maybe blueberries. Your next diet, your next rotation maybe would have a different kind of fruit. Same thing with vegetables. Maybe your diet has root vegetables like sweet potato or pumpkin. Then again, you want to rotate through that. You can include beetroot. You can put Jerusalem artichoke. Anything as long as you rotate. Leafy greens, you can also rotate through them too. Watery greens like peppers, broccoli, cauliflower, all these things can be rotated over time. That usually makes more sense than trying to include everything in one diet, which means you take up a lot of space, or you're reducing the amount of all these vegetables, which reduces all of their very important compounds that maybe now your pet is not getting enough of. So it's better to put less, but rotate through it so you increase diversity over time. That is what makes rotational feeding so powerful. So whatever diet you're currently using for your pet, rotational feeding is always something you should consider. Rotational feeding is also really important to help prevent sensitivities or maybe even allergies. So why is every dog or cat apparently allergic to chicken or beef? Well, that's probably not even true. But the reason why we're seeing some uptake in sensitivities is because chicken and beef is in most pet foods. And if you're looking at 10 years ago, they were predominant protein. So because of this constant exposure that dogs and cats are always eating chicken, always, unfortunately sometimes, especially with ultra-processed foods, the immune system stops to recognize this as a nutrient and thinks that it's an invader or it's a foreign body, and then it mounts an immune response. That's how you get allergies, and that's why allergies can happen over time when you're giving the same thing over and over and over again every day, 3 times a day for the whole pet's life. This is where rotational feeding is very important and helpful. If you're rotating through different proteins, then it means that your dog and cat's immune system has a chance to kind of relax and forget about this chicken enemy that's trying to invade the system. And instead there's beef one day, and then there's duck the other day. So because of this rotation, it helps to prevent certain allergies or sensitivities. Maybe it won't prevent them, maybe it'll just delay them. But there has been a lot of success stories to prevent allergies by feeding a rotational fresh food of different proteins. And the last reason why you should consider rotational feeding is it can help to prevent pickiness. How many people here have ever said, oh, I can't give that, my dog's really picky. No, she only likes expensive things like hoki oil and beef called Barbara raised in the rolling hills of New Zealand. That's all that my dog likes. Well, you can help to prevent some of this pickiness by doing rotation, because that way everything is always new. You know, the meal next day or maybe a week or however often you decide to rotate, then they're always getting something new and they always have something to look forward to. Now this will only work as long as you don't pander to them. Because let's say they like beef a little bit less. And then when you give beef, you look at your dog for a minute and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And then you take the beef and then you give them their favorite duck. Then you are harming yourself because your dog will know this. So as long as you do this rotation, but you want today's beef, girl, enjoy your beef. Because I'm not replacing it. If you don't want to eat it, don't eat it. That's your choice. I know that's called tough love, but that's what you got to do if you really want to help prevent pickiness for your dog or cat. Tough love. And ultimately, you know what's best for them, right? So you also need to encourage them to eat the food that you are getting for them. A lot of people also ask, how often should you do rotation? How many proteins? Well, there's no really set guide on this yet on what is optimal. So my recommendation would be maybe 2 to 3 proteins that you rotate over 2 weeks. And it could be the same 2 or 3 that you rotate for a while, then once in a while you swap one out. So over a year, maybe they would have 6 different proteins. But maybe in a month, it would only be, let's say, 3 to 4. You know, so it really goes with your dog or cat. If they have very, very sensitive stomach, then you probably don't want to rotate as quickly because you'll have to do transition between each different protein. So keep that in mind as well, that this nice rapid fire rotation may not be suitable for every dog and cat. Some people even like to do rotation within the same day, some within the same meal. Now, I don't recommend within the same meal unless you're doing PMR or fresh feeding, because then you're giving many different proteins at the same time. Nothing wrong with that theoretically, but if you're trying to prevent allergies, but you're giving some form of beef all the time, then you won't be preventing any allergies or sensitivities because beef will always be there. So make sure there's at least one protein missing from each of your meals. So their system always has some form of break. And that is probably the biggest tip that I can give you when it comes to rotational feeding. Well, I hope this piqued your interest. And if you have not tried rotational feeding with kibbles or with canned food yet, you will give it a try. Let us know if you have any questions. Don't be shy to comment below. Subscribe, like this video, follow us on Instagram and on the cool TikTok because I'm so young and cool and hip. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you around. Bye-bye.